Hey, good morning. How's it going, everyone? Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're having a great cheeky Tuesday. Dish Wars today. I know it's usually on Wednesday, but we're going to be doing it today because obviously the Thanksgiving prep for tomorrow, and then obviously Thanksgiving on Thursday. So we're going to be doing something very similar to yesterday, which I didn't expect to happen, but it did. So, but we're going to be doing fried chicken steak. So we're going to marinate that, and then we're going to pan it, and then fry it off. Obviously, we're going to also do some Parmesan biscuits, or as us British like to call it, savoury scones. So we're going to have a little bit of that, and we're also going to make some homemade gravy again. But anyway, sorry, we've got the chicken bones. They're going in the oven. We're going to roast them off very, very nicely until super golden. So about an hour, 40 minutes will be plenty of time. Let's get our yogurt mix ready, like we did yesterday. So a little touch of milk and a little bit of yogurt, and we'll mix this up. So we want about 2 tablespoons of the yogurt. Don't want to go too crazy with this. And then we're just going to add a good splash of milk, and we're just going to give it a little cheeky whisk around. Give it some some nice consistency. So you're looking for kind of like a buttermilk consistency with more than anything. And then we're going to add a few spices and flavors. If you don't want it spicy, just keep out the spices. So you don't need to go too crazy with it. So I'm just going to whisk this in. There we go. So onion powder, garlic powder, paprika, and I want a little touch of cayenne for a little kick. Not too much. Right, a little touch of cayenne. I don't go too crazy. 1/4 teaspoon. Let's get technical now, shall we? A teaspoon of garlic powder. I want a teaspoon of paprika. Good old pap. It's always good. About a teaspoon of onion powder. And I'm going to go for about roughly 2 teaspoons of black pepper. So we got the cube steak that we bought, which is actually great for fried chicken. So pretty much a steak that's just been battered out. It's got all the holes in it. It also looks like ground mincemeat, but it's not. It's just been battered. So and it's just been rolled out. So there we go. Fantastic. Let's get the other one. Just careful I don't break it, because these ones are quite fragile. They will break if you pull them, and they will tear. So you know, you don't really want to be too heavy-handed with it. So just going to let that kind of soak up really nicely in the flavors. So there we go. It's good to go. So we're going to pop that in our fridge. Pretty much the same as yesterday, right? So we're just going to let that marinate. You can do it overnight if you want to get even more flavor in there. Let's chop this up into a rough chop. You don't need to go too crazy. So we're not going to dice this up. We're going to cut this up into 3 like yesterday. Exactly the same. So there we go. Just a little rough chop for our chicken stock. Just a quick top and tail. And then we're just going to peel that down and then just roughly chop it up as well. Right, a little touch of thyme. So a few little sticks of thyme. Don't go too crazy. The onions, garlic, thyme, and carrots all ready to rock and roll. So we're going to switch the cameras around. I'm going to pop about a tablespoon of veggie oil or canola oil in there. We're going to start sweating this off very, very nicely. So there we go. So we're going to cook this down very nicely. Just sweating it off for roughly about 5-10 minutes. Maybe getting a little bit of color and caramelization on there. Fantastic. So just going to cook them down nice and gentle. The chicken bones are almost there, so absolutely fantastic. Oh my goodness me, look at this chicken bones. They're looking great. Lots of caramelization, lots of flavor. So beautiful. So what we're going to do, got all that caramelization on the bottom of the pan. That's what we're looking for. Fantastic. You could put it in there for a bit longer if you want it like super golden, but I feel like we're going to have a great enough flavor on there as its own. Look at it. Look on the tray. Fantastic. So lots of flavor all caramelized right at the bottom on the tray there. Right, we got quite a lot of grease on there though. So a little trick without removing all the flavor, just to take some of that grease off. What we're going to do, just grab a little touch of kitchen roll. And just dab it off. Don't go wiping it off because you'll pull all that flavor off, so you don't want to do that. Just get off that excess grease. There we go. See? That's on a medium heat at the back, so let me show you now. Oh, you're already looking fantastic. So carefully don't put that on too much of a high heat. What you want to do, pop a little bit of water in here. If you have it on too much of a high heat, what you're going to do is end up burning the sediment, and then you're going to end up with a bit of sauce. So just pop a little bit of water in there. We're going to deglaze this down very nicely. So we're going to deglaze this, so using a spoon, just give this all a nice little mix, pulling up all that beautiful flavor. What we're going to do with that, we're going to pick up the tray and just going to pour that all the way into our beautiful little cheeky chicken stock. So got all that fantastic flavor in there. And what we're going to do is going to let it just cook down very, very nice and steady. Now, when it comes to stocks and sauces, I know I tell you guys this every time, but you know, just for new people, if they didn't hear me, it's really important for, especially stocks. You let it just gently simmer down. Don't boil the living daylights out of it. If you boil the living daylights out of it, you're going to end up flattening the flavor. And the second one, which is not really for home purpose, more for restaurant purpose, which is pretty much will make the stock quite cloudy. So if you want a fuller, richer flavor, do it nice and gently and slowly, and you'll get a better flavor and quality out of it. So if you want to make a few biscuits, you can probably double this recipe if you want to. It's entirely up to you. 225, but this should make you roughly about 4 or 5. Shouldn't actually make you that many. I don't want to make too much, so I'm just going to make a few. Okay, so 225. We also want a teaspoon of baking powder. Beautiful. So, teaspoon of baking powder. What we're going to do is weigh out the butter, and we're going to rub the butter straight into the flour. Just dice this up very nicely. Okay, so look. 75 grams is what we're after. 40 grams, sorry. So let's give this a nice little grate down. What we're going to do is just give that butter a really kind of rub, using your kind of thumbs, just to kind of rub the butter into the flour. It should be good. Okay, so that's looking fantastic. So that's all been mixed through and really nicely and incorporated. So that's good to go. So we're going to give that, add the liquid, sorry. We're going to add the milk and the egg, 1 egg. I'm just going to basically add the milk until it's pretty much bound together. So drop our egg in. Right, so let's give that a nice little mix. Let's break that egg up. Make like a little well there, and then we're just going to add it, and then we're just going to start mixing it. I'm not going to add any salt. I feel like 40 grams of Parmesan is going to be salty enough for this, so we're not going to add any seasoning to it. But that's all bound together. I'm just going to scrape this off my fingers. Just going to mix together really nicely, so looking beautiful. Right, I'm not going to knead this too much, so just literally just a couple of turns. That's good, because we don't want to work this. Really don't want to work this. We want it to be nice and light and fluffy, so just gave it a couple of turns. Now we're good. So literally you don't need to work it much at all, or if any. So right, little flour. Let's grab our rolling pin. I do need to preheat the oven as well, so let's get that on the go before I remember. So 350, 180. Usually with biscuits and that, sometimes I guess on 325, 300. A little bit more lighter, kind of, what's the word? Temperature, sorry. But I've done them on 350 and 180 and they come out spot on. If they're a little bit too thick, then maybe, yeah, just turn it down a little bit so they do cook inside. So just bear that in mind. Right. So what I'm doing is dunking my ring in the flour. Don't take any puns with that. So the reason for it is when you push it down with the ring, it won't stick to it. So just a little tip there for you guys and gals. Right. Biscuits must be big. I feel like it's a good size. Drop that into there. So I'm just going to give this a nice little brush on the top. And we just want a little bit of just coating on the top. I'm just going to pop that into the oven. And it's going to take about roughly 20 to 30 minutes to cook for the cheeky, I was going to say scones, but the biscuits, shall we say. Beautiful. These are ready to rock and roll. Oh my goodness me. Board and biscuit heaven. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, they feel super nice and soft inside. Nice and crunchy. Be very careful you don't splash yourself when this is coming out. Especially when the bones come out and they just jump straight out and you get splashed. So just be very careful. There it is. Look at that. I know you can't really see very well. There we go. Now you can see. Without steaming up the camera. But that's what we developed in between less than 2 hours. It's already looking fantastic. And as I said, if you've got more time and you want to kind of let it develop further or a bit longer, you can do. So, alrighty. So we're gonna cut this down. Cut this down into nice little lardons. Right. So we put the bacon in. So we're gonna crisp this off very nicely. So once that's kind of rendered down, we're going to then start adding a little bit more fat, so some of that clarified butter. We're going to add the flour, make a roux. Get old Mr. Cheeky Marmite back out again as well. You know he's want to go in that gravy. So I'm going to grab the flour now. Alrighty, so let's give that a nice little mix. A little bit more butter, maybe. No, I think we're about there. It's got a nice little sandy texture now, so it's not too dry. So we're going to let that cook out for roughly a minute, and then we're going to start adding the chicken stock little by little. Perfect. So a little bit of chicken stock in here. So we're going to add little by little with the chicken stock, so the roux will absorb the chicken stock. If you add too much in there, what's going to happen is it's going to turn lumpy. You're going to end up with a lumpy gravy, so you're going to have a little bit of issues with it. So make sure that, let's turn this down a little bit. Make sure that you add it little by little and let it incorporate bit by bit. So there we go. Nice. Fantastic. So that's coming together really nicely. You might think, oh, this is at the right consistency now. Because the flour hasn't properly cooked out, it will get thicker again. So just be patient with it. Let it cook out. It'll thicken up. We're going to need more chicken stock. So yes, it might look at the right consistency right now, but the flour isn't cooked out yet. Alrighty, so we're going to add some peanut oil to this. So roughly about 50 grams of flour, 50 grams of cornstarch. Alrighty, so I'm going to double dip. Being extremely careful with my steak, it doesn't fall apart. I feel like this is going to be very tricky to... I feel like this is going to really break apart. Don't know if I'm going to be able to double dip it. Right, so we're nice and hot. So that's going straight in. There is our chicken fried steak. I'm going to stop laughing about it later on. So it's one of our Parmesan biscuits. Look at that. Oh! I think it's something I need to try at some point, so I feel at least. So this is the bacon gravy we made. Just like that thought of grit between my teeth just made me cringe a little, because it's like one of my worst hate bits, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't taste like that. So here's our bacon gravy. Oof, let me move that out of the way. So we made some homemade Parmesan biscuits with my own recipe. If you want the recipe, you can check back in the VODs. So we rubbed the butter and the flour together. We added the egg, the milk, and we also added Parmesan to it. So we shaped them, cut them, baked them, 180 Celsius, 350 Fahrenheit, good to go. Obviously the chicken fried steak, we use a homemade kind of buttermilk between yogurt and milk. I wanted to double coat it, but because it was like really, it was going to fall apart. It was very tender, so I had to kind of just one coat it, but it still turned out great, so I was very happy with it. And then we made the homemade smoked bacon gravy. So cooking down smoked bacon until they rendered, using some of the fat and a bit of clarified butter and flour to make a roux. Cooking it out, and then basically add in some of the homemade chicken stock that we made to make that beautiful gravy with a little touch of Marmite in there for a bit of richness. So yeah. Anyway, thank you so much for hanging out today, amigos. I hope you enjoyed today's stream. I'll be back tomorrow, 10 a.m. Mountain Time, for the Thanksgiving prep for the desserts. So if you like pastries and things, be here or be square. Have a great rest of your day. If you're not here tomorrow, no worries. But we start at 10 a.m. Mountain Time as per usual. Have a great rest of your day. Much loves. Thank you for the support, and bye for now, guys.